Hi, this is Denise Mathew, and today we're going to talk about the reflector type in human design. And if you haven't already, please feel free to check out my other videos, where you can learn more about human design and how you can use it in your life, because the more you know about yourself, the easier life gets. So let's look at the reflector type and what it means to be a reflector type in human design. To say a reflector type is rare is an understatement. They make up only 1% of all the population of all the 5 design types. So it makes sense that their job is going to be different than all other types, and also very important. So what makes a reflector? Well, they're pretty special in that they have absolutely no centers defined. And because of this, their body graphs stand out as being very different. So if you look at the body graph of this reflector, you'll notice that all the centers are white, or there's no color, which means they're all undefined or open. What that means is the reflector has all hanging gates, or also called half channels. And because of this, electromagnetics are even more important for a reflector than all other types. Because electromagnetics and also planetary transits are the only way a reflector gets any definition in their chart. I've already talked about electromagnetics in other videos, but for those who haven't seen them, I'm just going to do a brief review of what electromagnetics are and how they work. When we talk about a hanging gate, we're talking about half a channel. So for instance, if you look at person A, they have the gate 12, and that would be considered a hanging gate because it doesn't have the gate 22 to make a complete channel from the throat center to the emotional center. And the theory is that we're magnetically drawn to a person who will complete our channel. So if person A comes in contact with person B, they can naturally share the energy, and both will get a motor to the throat from the emotional center right up to the throat. So that's the basics of how electromagnetics work. Now, in the case of a reflector who has no defined centers at all, electromagnetics become way more important because that's the only way that they will ever get definition in their charts, as well as having planetary transits, which we'll talk about later when we talk about a reflector strategy. A key word for a reflector type is a barometer. And what does that mean? Reflectors are here to mirror the energy of those around them or the environment they live in. So for instance, if a reflector is feeling unhappy in their environment, then that usually means that the people in their environment or the environment they live in is not a happy place. And the opposite is true, that if a reflector is very happy in their environment and the community that's around them, then that usually means that the community is healthy. Because reflectors have no defined centers, they can in fact reflect all the auras of all the other types that they come in contact with, and for all intents purposes, become other people. And by becoming other people or seeing into other people's energy, they can see all the potential for that person that they're connecting with. But since humans have the ability to decide how they want to live their life, and maybe we don't always live to our highest potential, a reflector who sees the potential of humanity can get very disappointed. That's the human design theme for a reflector because they can see all the potential of everyone around them. And when they see people not living up to their potential, it can be disappointing to witness. And because of this, it's important for a reflector to find a community that's stable and also one that's familiar to them where they feel happy. By their very nature, a reflector can be considered someone who's very loving. But because they can connect with other people's energies so well, they can love a lot of people. And sometimes this can be considered a clingy energy because a reflector likes a sense of familiarity. And if other types don't understand this kind of connection with a reflector, they may not be happy with this energy directed at them. In human design, whenever we talk about an open center or an undefined center, it means that the energy coming into that center is inconsistent or can change based on the people you're with. When something's defined, it means that the energy is more consistent. So when you have undefined centers, like the reflector has, it means that all the energy that comes into the centers is based on the people that you're with. And when a center is undefined, the theory is that all the energy that comes into that center or is absorbed into that center becomes amplified. So it makes sense that a reflector who has all open centers will have a lot of energy that could be coming at them when they're out in a public area or with a bunch of people. And if the energy is always foreign or different people, it can become overwhelming. And so for a reflector, having loyal friends and family members who are consistent and the reflector knows the energy of, makes the reflector's life a lot easier. And also because when you have all open centers and you're amplifying the energy, you can be considered boisterous. If you have a lot of sacral energy, you can be considered talkative if you have a lot of throat energy, and even willful if you have a lot of willpower energy based on the people that you're around. So a reflector can change quite dramatically in every group they're in and can be considered people with a big personality. And because they're so open, they need downtime away from other types so that they can regenerate and release the energy that they're picking up as the day goes on. Being alone and also being out in nature can help a reflector to get rid of the energy that they have built up all day. But if a reflector doesn't know their own energy and understand the need to be alone, they may be always wanting to be with people. So it's important for a reflector to have time alone so they can understand their energy and know what's theirs and what's other people's. Besides being on their own and also being out in nature, a reflector can release the energy they've built up all day by having a nice shower. Being a reflector in a community is a very important job, but certainly not an easy one, because reflectors can feel the energy of the group despite what the outward appearances look like. So, for instance, if a reflector works in an office and they're very unhappy in that office, it's usually a direct reflection of the energy in that workplace. Also, a distinct sign that something is not working well and that an effort should be made to make the community a happier one. And by being the sensors of the energies that they are, a reflector can open the door and reveal the truth of the energy around them. And in doing so, give the community that they're a part of the inspiration to heal and be the best that they can be. So, if by their nature they're here to be open to all the energy around them, how does a reflector make the best decisions for their life? Well, that's where their strategy comes in. And just like every other type in human design, reflectors have their own strategy. And as you would expect, their strategy is as unique as they are. And if you want to find out more about a reflector strategy and how they can get the best out of their life, please be sure to check out part 2.